Welcome to the Wild Food Network, where we explore the stories, science, and secrets of the wild edible world of food. Hello, welcome. It is fall, and that means it's peak mushroom season, and today's episode is going to be basically covering the most popular fall species. We're going to talk about where they're fruiting. We're also going to talk about anything from where to look, what species of trees to focus on, and where to go as the temperatures drop and nature gets ready for winter. So first things first, I'll pull up the map. Wildfoodnetwork.com is the URL for the map. Let me go ahead and share it. All right, here we are. So wildfoodnetwork.com, I just click explore maps and then sign up for an account, free account. And from here, as you can see, all my spots in Colorado for different various species. But for the report today, we're going to start in the southeast. So some species that are fruiting right now in the southeast, you're on the tail end of your chanterelle season. So, if you're in hardwood forests, look underneath oak trees, look in damp areas. If you are in any of these states, all you have to do to basically see what the conditions are to zoom into an area that you usually forage, click a pin, and the information will load. So for this area, the soil temperature is really, really warm, but that's not, the end of the world for some of these locations that get, really warm. What you're looking for mostly is the soil moisture. So as you can see, a couple of days ago, we had a pretty significant rain event. I say it usually takes 4 to 5 days for normal mushroom bodies to fruit after a heavy period of rain, depending on the overall soil condition, throughout the season, right? We're not looking for the last few days. We're looking kind of at both, right? So seasonal and recently. So Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, you guys will be having chanterelles. There'd be a little bit of black trumpets left, but mostly what I would look for is hen of the woods if you guys are a little bit north towards the Appalachians. But other than that, with warmer weather, you will be able to find oyster mushrooms and things like that. Pawpaws are currently in the mix as well. So if you want to look for different species, click the little hamburger menu, go to species, and then find one. So for pawpaw, we'll look at the distribution map, for example. As you can see, there's some nice little chunks of forests that the pawpaws would most likely be in. And for pawpaws, it's really not about moisture or anything like that. It's really just about time of year. So you want to, pick them pretty quickly. They can spoil pretty fast, and you want them to be somewhat squishy, but not super, super firm, because, if they are super firm and unripe, it can make some people a little sick. Other than the pawpaw trees and fruits like that, mushroom-wise, we've got quite a bit over there. I still need to build out some of more species for everyone, but for the first batch, I've got chicken of the woods, which, as you guys can see in the southeast here, it's pretty readily available. You're going to look for hardwood species like oaks, things like that, and from there, they're going to be growing probably after a few weeks of consistent moisture. You want the consistent moisture to be able to allow the fruiting bodies to fruit, and then you want to pick them when they are younger. The older they get, they're a little tough. So, and they're very wonderful chicken substitute, like literally chicken of the woods, hence the name. And so the regions that you need to look for are oak trees, downed oak trees specifically, dying trees, things like that. They're decomposers. So with that being said, chicken of the woods, you've got pawpaws coming in, in the next few weeks. And then chanterelles overall, the eastern chanterelle, as I said, has a pretty wide range. And, obviously, the green is where they're going to like to be. And as you zoom in, you can see pretty specific areas. Again, all you got to do is click and then, check the soil moisture, which is the most important thing. Obviously, the soil temperature will be pretty warm this time of year. But for the most part, that's what you're looking for, is that kind of consistent moisture for all of these species. You don't want just like one significant rain and then 3 weeks of no rain. You want kind of a consistent basis of rain. If you don't have that, you can still go out and look and enjoy nature, but you just need to go towards creeks and towards large bodies of water that will keep that moisture higher than, say, the more drier spots. That being said, the Northeast is having quite a field day with chicken of the woods, with hen of the woods, and with a couple other species that are they love this kind of cooling off period into the winter. And then there's probably about another month and a half, 2 months left in most of these places before winter really sets in. So enjoy. All of these areas are ripe with chanterelles, with, pawpaws are also pretty prevalent up here in the Northeast around Washington, D.C., Virginia, West Virginia. All these places are all fair game. And, as you get into Maine, you can get into the eastern Matsutake, which I will be adding next. But the hen of the woods is also thriving right now, Grifola frondosa. As you can see, it's pretty prevalent in the Northeast. And as you make your way west, they kind of diminish because there's not as much oak trees. That being said, there's quite a bit to choose from right now. So enjoy. As we make our way west, the Midwest is, same kind of category, chanterelles, oyster mushrooms, on the eastern bands of Oklahoma and Kansas. You're going to be finding potentially hen of the woods. It's relatively rare, but definitely not out of the question. And then obviously always tried and true lobster mushrooms. Probably will be fruiting for another month, maybe. The eastern species. Western species, we'll get to you next. As we make our way west into the Rockies, winter is here. I am at 6,000 feet in Boulder, Colorado. We got our first snow last week, maybe even 2 weeks ago at this point. Very significant snowfall event. So the soil moisture is very high, but it's really cold. And we've been getting a decent amount of rain. All of these spots that I have marked are for different species. But as you can see, the soil temperature is drastically dropping. That's only 9,000 feet. So anything above 9,500 feet in any of the Rockies right now is probably right at the finish line. So Matsutake, maybe. You might get some Matsutake areas in the mid to high levels of elevation. For example, here in Clay Creek County, the soil temperature is just right, and the soil moisture is really, really good. So we had a very significant rainfall event here in the Rockies, in Colorado specifically, about 5 days ago. It was a torrential downpour, as you can see, 1.81 inches. That's a lot of rain in pretty much one day. And so it really kind of shook up whatever was left of the flushes in the Rocky Mountain regions. And we'll see, as time goes by, probably then, I would say another week at the most. I got a report yesterday that right around 9,500 feet to 10,000 feet, there was one final hoorah of a flush for the Boletus rubriceps, which is the tried and true species in Colorado here. It just loves the fir forests, things like that. That being said, as we zoom out a little bit further, I'm going to go ahead and pop this off, and then we're just going to kind of make our way west. The Rockies in Wyoming, the Rockies, or the Uinta Range, same kind of, general rule of thumb, which is you have very little time left, which is great. That means winter is coming and you can catch up on work and do some skiing and stuff. But unfortunately, the season for picking is, coming to a close. But that doesn't mean the end of the world. It just means you can find spots for next year using wildfoodnetwork.com. Okay, Southwest lobster mushrooms for sure. They're probably going to be going for another month. They might be already done for the most part in some of these regions due to the temperature of the soil. So as you can see, there's some nice ranges outside of Tonto National Forest and Phoenix that do have the right elevation and that have the right species maps for lobster mushrooms. And there are quite a few people that find lobster mushrooms all summer long up here in the Coconino National Forest and the Apache Sitgreaves National Forests. If I'm pronouncing any of those wrong, don't shoot me. So just south of the Petrified Forest National Park, you will see that there are quite a few mountain ranges, even going up to the Grand Canyon. It's the right elevation, it's the right, areas. But as you can see, the soil moisture is quickly dropping and it's been really dry. So if you go to a place that you think has lobsters or has lobsters first, you can save it in here. It's really easy. All you have to do is click Save Location, and then it pops into your location saved area. Second, check the soil temperature before you go because it may already be too cold for them. Doesn't mean you don't have to go. Just tells you a little bit more about the story, the lay of the land, if you will. Going up north into Utah, same story as I said about the Rockies and Montana and all that. You have a little bit of time left before the winter really sets in. It's pretty fast in these higher elevations in the blink of an eye. And that also goes into the Sierras as well. The Sierras is obviously just a wonderful place to forage in the summer, but as the temperatures drop and we get these like crazy fall storms, the temperature of the soil also drops dramatically. So, that will kick up anything left like Matsutake. They have a very short fruiting window. We're talking like a week or two. But as you get north into California, and this also goes for Nevada. I don't know if there's any Nevada foragers out there. I would love to talk to you. Come on the podcast. I'd love to chat. But other than that, you've got the Nevada ranges, my personal favorite in the entire U.S. I love them dearly. They're very, very beautiful wilderness areas, but they're very finicky and very small. So if anybody's in Nevada, let me know. I'd love to chat. As you go into northern California, Redding, Eureka, Weed, California, all those places outside of Shasta, Matsutake. They're starting. Okay. So Matsutake will be here. Let me see. Let's turn on the map. Yeah, you've got a lot of places for Matsutake. I would say the Sierras are dwindling fast, but the Matsutake into Northern California, Southern Oregon, they're on. Does not mean they are plentiful. My reports from the field are that Chemalt, which is the commercial capital of Matsutake mushroom in the West, is having a bad year, unfortunately. The pickers, they go by the white chanterelles, right? So they say if they see the white chanterelles are thriving, it means it's probably going to be a good pine season, Matsutake season. Right now, unfortunately, the white chanterelles are not very readily available in southern Washington and northern Oregon. So that means it might be a little meager year. Does not mean you can't go out and find some. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the 100-pound days, probably not going to be this year. I wish, I hope. We got another month or so. The kings. I don't have a map yet of the kings. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. I'm a busy man. But the kings in Northern California and Southern Oregon, they're on. Okay. There was a report just yesterday that someone found like 20 pounds. So, and they're fresh. So get out, go to your king spots. They're probably fruiting pretty well right now in more moist areas. Again, you have to check the soil moisture. These guys, they won't fruit if there's not a good enough soil moisture. Very dry in some of these spots. That was in not a good spot. Let's go to Klamath. Still a little dry, right? And that's fine. Doesn't mean there's not going to be fruiting. You guys have a lot more moisture than, say, out east, traditionally and seasonally. Okay. So go out and find your king spots. They're fruiting right now. Northern California is on. Chanterelles are on. Even chicken of the woods is going in some of these places out west. Check your Douglas firs. As we go north, the Pacific Northwest, the greater Pacific Northwest, I will be going there next month to find Matsutake and chanterelles and pick those. But for right now, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Northern California, those are your prime suspects for finding king, for finding Matsutake, and for finding chanterelles right now, both white and yellow, or golden, as they call it. So those are all wonderful places to start for the fall foraging. I'm sure I missed quite a few species. There are quite a few species that I have not yet added. I'm adding those hopefully this week, and those contain fruits like huckleberries, blackberries, things like that, and even more invasive species. And, there's just so many I could be listing there. I mean, hundreds. So it takes a little bit of time to create these maps, but I'm trying to get the word out there on where to find these things and how to find these things. And if you want to become a member, it's $20 a year for a membership. And that helps me get you more data. Also helps me expand the platform to have a lot more states, and hopefully globally. I'm trying to make this global. So anyways, that is your September/fall wild food report. I'll be back on in a couple of weeks and for another report for a little bit later in October. And then if you haven't yet, please follow me on Spotify, Wild Food Network. Just type that in the search bar. I have a third guest coming on here shortly, and I'll get that out hopefully before mid-October, urban foraging. And if you would like to be on the podcast, let me know. I would love to have you on as a guest. Let's talk about wild food. Let's talk about how it changed your life. It changed mine. And I'll catch you guys next time. Later. Thank you for listening to the Wild Food Network podcast. For maps, forecasts, and more, visit wildfoodnetwork.com. Happy hunting.